So you may have seen the Tara Reade interview with Megyn Kelly. Putting aside all the political reasons that Megyn Kelly or anybody else is presenting this interview with Tara Reade, who, if you're not aware, she was sexually assaulted by Senator Joe Biden, who's the Democratic Party nominee in the US, or the President of the United States for this election. There's a lot of problems, of course, with Joe Biden, and that's one of them. The same with Donald Trump. There's a lot of problems with Donald Trump, and being a perpetrator of sexual assault is one of them. Allegedly, I suppose I should put in there, but I mean, I think it's fairly clear that, both these people who are running for president are problematic in that way. But I wanted to just talk about Tara Reade. I saw that interview with Megyn Kelly and the whole interview. And I want to just move a bit beyond the issue of sexual assault here and ask the question, why would the Democratic Party, who are a war party, care one way or the other about the sexual assault of women? And the celebrities that protect the Democratic Party because they like to rub shoulders with power, and power in government likes to rub shoulders with famous people, celebrities. And say, for example, Alyssa Milano, who has been a big proponent of believing women and the Me Too movement, has ignored Tara Reade and allowed the media to do the deciding whether Tara Reade should be believed or not. I hope that the wind isn't being too problematic here. A lot of the media is either totally political and it's for the Democratic Party, a lot of it, and if it's not for the Democratic Party, it's for the GOP in the United States. And minority issues and women's rights issues only seem to take any sort of priority when, in a very superficial way, when the Democratic Party is trying to court a certain group that they feel they need to win. But in reality, what they do in reality when they do win is very little for those minority groups. And the Democratic Party, which is a war party just like the GOP, the Republican Party, they have no finer feelings about women who are raped by soldiers in all the different countries now that the US empire is occupying and destroying. They have no finer feelings about women's issues when women's rights when soldiers are breaking into the homes of their family and terrorizing their children and killing children, killing their families, bombing their homes, bombing their towns, bombing their country and razing it to the ground. The Democratic Party has no finer feelings about that. They applaud war. They applaud war with all that means. It isn't surprising that when somebody comes forward with a very credible story, as Tara Reade has, totally credible, very brave of her because she's being attacked from all sides, because they want to shut her up, because they want this very poor candidate, Joe Biden, to win, so they say. I'm not sure that's the case, because if the US Democratic Party wanted to win, they wouldn't be selecting someone in cognitive decline with all the problems that he has. He's a very poor candidate. He's like a Republican running in the Democratic Party. But there you go. But why would the Democratic Party care about a woman's right to tell her story, about sexual assault that pretty much ruined her career, and she knew it from the moment it happened? Tara Reade, she knew her career would be ruined because Joe Biden, because she didn't respond and want to take it further than that with him. He said to her, "You mean nothing to me," pointed the finger, and he had this smile on his face that he puts on his face, but he was angry. And she knew her career was over from that moment. I feel very sad for her because you can see she's been holding on to this for a long time. She told her mother, she told a couple of friends at the time, a neighbor. Her story has never changed. I feel sorry for her because when I say I feel sorry for her, I feel empathy for her because it's very difficult to tell stories like that. Putting aside that she's in the media spotlight, just in general, women have trouble telling stories like this. If you're a woman, you know what I'm saying. It's not easy to tell stories where someone has violated you, usually someone you trust, and you know that really nothing can compensate that. You know, even if they went to jail, which so few do, so few are even reported, so few sexual assaults and rapes are even reported. So many men on the planet have gotten away with sexual assault and rape. And particularly in the in many decades ago, where it was even okay in law in some Western countries to rape women in marriage. That was sort of okay. Patriarchy has a lot of suffering, a lot of blood on its hands, a lot has happened under patriarchy that cannot be reversed. And rape and sexual assault is ubiquitous. It's a tool of power. It's all about power. It's all about persecuting the vulnerable. And so Tara Reade is really, even though her story is highlighted in the media and she's a high-profile case, this story can be told by almost, well, I don't know one woman. In the many women I've met in my life, I don't know one woman that hasn't been either sexually harassed, sexually assaulted, or raped. I haven't met one woman. Sexual assault and rape is very common, and I include myself in that, of women that have been sexually assaulted and raped. And I have a similar story to the Tara Reade story. Not a high-profile person, somebody I trusted, a male that I trusted. I was good friends with him, and it was similar in the suddenness of it, out of the blue. Someone I trusted very much, someone I did yoga with every day, a good friend, and it happened after I came out, in quotes, to him, which is really bizarre and sort of adds another dimension to that, meaning that it was not only misogynist, but it was also homophobic, the assault. Because why on earth would you assault someone who has come out to you, in quotes, come out? It's Rooney, wearing his Bird Be Safe collar. No, we don't like to dress up our cats. Why would somebody, when you're coming out to them, which in 1983, when I was 23, that was a very difficult thing to do, to come out, because it hadn't been that long ago that it was seen as a disorder on the DSM, the psychiatrist manual. It wasn't that long before I came out that in 1978 when LGBT rights started coming on the scene in Australia. It was only 5 years after that. So why would someone do that? Because they can. Firstly, because it was very easy then, as it still is now, to sexually assault women because you're a friend or you're a close acquaintance, you're a family member or whatever. It is very easy now to do that as it was then. And it happens all the time. Every single day, every minute of every day, to women and children all over the world, under patriarchy. It's actually a matter of power. After that incident that happened to me in '83, it took me a long time before I could trust. It took me a long time to call it even a rape, even when I was speaking to my therapist. Why would that be? Why would it take me so long to call it a rape, or even talk about it? Because there's a certain amount of shame in it because of how women are made to feel, that over the decades women are made to feel like somehow they must have caused the situation, or somehow they're at some fault. And also that it's downplayed, really, for all the hoopla about sexual assault and rape. Every time some woman comes forward, they have to prove that they're telling the truth. Power protects power, and there are so many men who have sexually assaulted women and young girls that it's a big club that likes to protect itself. And there are women also who protect that club. It's an internalized misogyny that lots of women suffer from, and they feel they need to protect these men. It's messed up, but that's how it is. Internalized misogyny has a lot to answer for the women who carry it and who demonize women who tell the truth about patriarchy, for one, who tell the truth about abusive men, who talk about it. And there's a lot of women in the Democratic Party who protect Joe Biden for various reasons, but like I say, the Democratic Party is a war party, and if they don't care about all the women's lives who are destroyed all around the planet due to Western imperialism, due to US empire, the death machine, why would they care about Tara Reade? Why? Why would they care? If they don't care about all those millions of victims of US empire. But the important thing about telling a story, that story, and by the way, I have numerous stories of attempted sexual assaults, and so have all my friends and women that I've known over the decades. It's usually not just one occurrence. And I would consider myself a fairly careful person. It's really unfortunate that women have to always be careful and cautious and taking precautions and being aware of their surroundings. You know, it's really unfortunate that that's what women have to do, and yet that's what women have to do every day. be aware of surroundings, who's around. And for a while, I suffered with panic attacks after that incident, that particular incident. And that affected my life. And it made me very wary of being alone with good male friends because of what happened, which is a tragedy. Because I've had some very good male friends over the years, very good. And sometimes that flashes into my head, or in the past it did anyway. Not in the last couple of decades, but it used to flash into my head what happened. So the great thing about that interview with Megyn Kelly, the particular ending of it, watch right to the end, the full interview with Tara Reade. And she says how liberating, she says she doesn't care if people don't believe her. I think that's great that she doesn't care, because she's telling the truth. And she doesn't belong to any particular political group, political party. And she's a domestic violence survivor. I am as well. It's good to be able to voice these sort of things. And however people take it is how they take it. But it's liberating. And I've only once very briefly mentioned this in my podcast, just in passing, because I wanted to use it to make a point about something. I very rarely talk about my personal life unless I have a reason to do so, unless I think it's going to help make a point about something that I care about. And so that's why I'm mentioning it today, because sexual assault and rape are so common, and because women often suffer guilt from it and shame, and it affects their life. And that any woman who talks about it has thought about it a lot and considered what the repercussions are, and knows that in some ways society is set up in a way that isn't very, very conducive to seeing justice. So that's why so many women don't ever report sexual assaults, because most often it's people they know. And I don't see it getting any better. And I think it's very sad that we're getting to the end of our time as a species on this planet, and we're still dealing with things like that. Basic things, gender inequality, fussing over, getting upset if anybody isn't in the binary. All of that. So late in the piece, really. And yet, nobody's fussing about the many, many imperialist wars that is destroying the lives of brown and black people all over the world. But we fuss about the minutiae. And none of those people, including Tara Reade, like Tara Reade may think it, but she wouldn't say, probably because it's this unspoken thing, that you don't criticize American imperialism. She could say, why would anybody in the political establishment care about what's happened to me when they don't care about the women they're destroying globally with American imperialism? Megyn Kelly, she wouldn't think that. Nobody. If they thought it, they wouldn't say it. It's an unspoken thing that you just don't talk about. That's the real secret. That's the real cover-up that the media, the mainstream media, and politicians in either party in the US or in Australia. The big secret, the big thing that you're never ever supposed to talk about, and that's American imperialism and the warmongering that goes with it. It's verboten. It's something you cannot question and you should not question, unless, of course, you want to be excised from everything. You must not question empire. And if you do, you'll be ostracized.